everybody. How are you? Thank you for that really tepid response. That was very, very encouraging. Thanks and welcome to our discussion, Communicating Your Values Through Brand Storytelling. I'm Al Roker. Nice to meet you all. And I'm going to introduce these nice people in a moment. Studies show that consumers are more apt to be loyal to a brand that actually, as they perceive it, gives back, but that also improves bottom lines. But it also attracts, which is very important in this post-pandemic era, a workforce that wants to be part of good corporate citizenry. In fact, consumers also want that connection. 76% will choose a brand because they feel connected to it, and they'll make that choice over a competitor. 72% want their brands to be positive and have positive contributions to society. Well, at Al Roker Entertainment, we like to partner with those brands to tell great storytelling because that's what people want to see. They want to hear a great story and meet interesting people and find out that these folks are doing well while they do good. One of these businesses that we are thrilled to be part of is with John Deere. In addition to John Deere's corporate mandate for adhering to a higher purpose, in their words, conducting business that's conducive to life. Paving or planting, we shape the spaces that sustain us. Through their LEAP coalition, John Deere is dedicated to ensuring that there's long-term sustainability of land that's currently owned or farmed by black farmers. And how they're doing it with their corporate values is so important, and we wanted to, and they reached out to us to help bring a story that is not that well known, and we're excited to talk about that. And here to talk about that, first off, we've got Mara Downing, who is the Executive Vice President of Global Brands and Communications at John Deere, and Johan Dummersant, who is the Global Director of Talent Supply and Diversity, Equity and Inclusion and Global Human Resources. Welcome. And joining us is Eternal Polk, one of the greatest names ever. An Emmy-nominated producer, director, writer, storyteller behind a forthcoming documentary film that details the lives and livelihood of black farmers as part of John Deere's mission-based objectives, and a head of hair that I can only dream of in a previous life of having. So thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it. Joe, so let's start with you. So first of all, tell us about, there are a number of issues, but when it comes to this main issue that's affecting farmers of color.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Alan, and hello to everyone. Let me just go back. In 1910, so a little bit over 100 years ago, black farmers owned 16 million acres of land around the country. Fast forward to over 100 years later, as today, that number has dwindled down to 3.9 million acres of land. So imagine the massiveness of the land that's been lost in just over 100 years. And part of that has to do with the fact that they've been subjected to discriminatory legal and social practices, violence over the decades and over the years, and certainly lack of access to proper estate planning so that they can have clear legal title and entitlement to their land. And that's given rise to what we're talking about today, which is heirs property. And simply stated, heirs property is land that's been passed down from generations to generations without clear living will that makes it very clear where the ownership ends. And all of these generations, from years of the land being passed down, continue to remain in fractional ownership of now, in some cases, several hundred descendants of one particular piece of property, again, without access to clear title. So that's what the issue is about today.
And why is that so important?
It's really important because we all know that land to a farmer is its most valuable asset. So without having access to clear title, to make sure that the ownership is very clear, those farmers do not have the opportunity to have access to government funding. They don't have access to the ability to produce the land. They don't have access to a myriad of programs that are currently available, loans from banks. A bank is not going to give them a loan if they're not able to show clear title. And currently, there's around 60% of Black farmers that are currently working on land and do not have clear title to their land. So what that does is it furthers the wealth gap that Black communities continue to face, and certainly that's a large issue that's being faced by Black farmers.
So in 2020, John Deere established a coalition with the National Black Growers Council and the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. So what are you aiming to accomplish with this partnership?
Very, very proud of the work that we're doing with the LEAP Coalition. It stands for legislation, education, advocacy, and production systems. We determined that in order to tackle this issue of heirs property, we needed to tackle it from multiple angles. So what did we do? We partnered with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, to your point, which gave us access to law students from public institutions, HBCU institutions, who would come in and intern with beneficiary organizations who do this work every day, such as the Federation for Southern Cooperatives. And in addition to that, we've also partnered with the National Black Growers Council, which seeks to give these farmers the tools and resources needed in order for them to work the land once a title has cleared. They can probably lease the land. They have educational and training opportunities about how to leverage and grow the land. We've also, at John Deere, we've decided to fund fellowships for attorneys to actually work with the Federation full-time to work on heirs property issues, including title, estate and planning issues, and continued advocacy around reform, around heirs property issues. So the purpose of bringing all these organizations together, it's because we want to create an ecosystem, a very collaborative ecosystem that helps to tackle the issue at all angles, because at the end of the day, deriving economic value to us is the most critical component of how we're going to be eradicating heirs property for Black communities and Black farmers.
So what does success of something like this look like for John Deere?
So success to us is we came into this as a social justice issue, but social justice without economic justice does not resolve the issue for us. So that was really the angle for us. Success is to provide as many opportunities for Black farmers to regain clear title to land that they own, give them opportunities, help give them opportunities for resourcing of tools and resources in order for them to produce on the land, because we know that if we tackle it in this way, we have an opportunity to significantly impact the wealth gap that they've experienced over the last generations and to really increase that economic value for generations to come.
So Mary, you're looking to help rectify this problem with outreach, and you've got this coalition with Black farmers. So what are the objectives? How do you get the message out?
You bet. Our objectives are really twofold. First and foremost, we want to reach those farmers who are impacted, the 60% of farmers that Joe referenced. We want to reach them to let them know that we are working together across the industry to truly address this issue through the legal system and other opportunities. The other objective that we have here is really around closing the purpose gap. So often we talk about our products, we often don't talk about our purpose. And our higher purpose is we run so life can leap forward. And one of the key tenets of our organizational strategy that supports that higher purpose is helping unlock value for our customers. And this is one really great way and a significant proof point for how we're doing that for Black farmers. And so our intent is to close that purpose gap to help employees, potential employees, and other unexpected audiences perhaps to understand how John Deere is truly living its higher purpose.
So you decided to tell this story and get this message out, creating a documentary film. How did you come to that decision?
You bet. This is a complex issue. It's a complex topic, and there's no better way to connect this issue in an emotional way with our audiences than through a documentary film to really help people understand the issue, understand where we're trying to go, and connect with the people who are impacted with this. Now, in terms of how do we bring the story to life, we're building a multi-channel approach or an omni-channel approach to really promoting this film and really ensuring that there's some stickiness to the message. You know, many of you in the room know you can play an ad unit once, you know, and we're not going to get that message to stick with our audiences. Our goal is to really connect with our audiences in a meaningful way and some new and unexpected approaches from a consumer perspective. Now, I have to let you know that, again, this isn't about product. To us, this is about our customers and how we serve our customers and how we're helping truly live our higher purpose. And so it's a new opportunity for Deere, and you'll see us show up in some unexpected places as a result.
When you look at that, as this landscape changes, is it a proactive approach that, you know, kind of adjusts on the fly as you do this?
You bet, you bet. So the idea here is to definitely push the message out. When we premiere the documentary, we want to have some invite-only events, of course, where we'll be bringing people in to serve as influencers and promoters for this great work.
And the person who helped bring this to life here at Al Roker Entertainment is Eternal. And you know, how did you? Because this is such a complex topic and one that not a lot of people know about. When you first heard about this idea, how did you go about coming up with what the storyline was going to be?
For me, it's a lot of research, and this was something that was so widely affecting Black community, Black farmers, and for me not to know anything about it, it was surprising to me. So it was a lot of research, but it was also wanting to be very, very authentic and very genuine with the conversation that we were having, because I think, you know, we live in a time where truth is kind of subjective, but with documentaries, you have to be very, very careful, because that becomes like a state of record of the conversation. And so I did a lot of research, and with the help of one Shameen, who is out in the audience, and we just found the people who were involved in every aspect of this and told what I like to say is a 360 approach.
What do you mean?
Well, you know, if you're familiar with Twitter haters, you know that there are people who are literally, they just wait to poke a hole in whatever you're talking about. So my approach is like, I want to make sure that if there is an argument or a counter argument or a counter conversation, that I've already addressed that in the conversation. So we talk around every aspect of it, so there's no sort of gap where you can say, oh, but this or but that. But and really coming from it from a very, very curious approach. That's my approach. I'm like very curious, and so it's a whole bunch of why, until I get to that foundation of the conversation.
We have a bit of the film here. Why don't you set up what we're going to see?
Well, we are going to see Miss Shirley Sherrod, and for some of you who don't know who she is, she was the first Black woman who was appointed to the USDA by Barack Obama, and was subsequently kind of ousted by Breitbart's use of manipulating her conversation that she had about racism. And this is her account of a situation that happened with her farm that she established years ago. And it was the first land trust that was ever came up with in America. And subsequently, a lot of people have used that model for land ownership.
All right, let's take a look.
So there were many things they did to lead us directly to foreclosure. In 1985, we lost everything. They allowed a guy out of Atlanta to acquire our land. We had assets worth between $4 and $5 million, and they allowed him to buy it for $1 million. And we later learned that they let him borrow $950,000. So he only put up $50,000. And then he broke the land up into tracts and sold it.
I want to take you back here to a place where for a long time I never carried anybody. Oh, really? I used to go back here and cry. We've had 4 or 5 foreclosures on this land. And before those foreclosures, I would come down here and sit here by myself and listen to the rippling water, pray, and get myself halfway straight to go back and talk to my folk, invigorate hope again, and courage to go on in spite of the facts as they were at the time.
This is somewhere where we had spent the last 15 years not just working that property, but still doing the civil rights work and organizing farmers. Where do you go when you lose your land? How do you keep your family unit together? How do you keep your mind together? Because this is something you put everything you had to hold on to it. And in spite of everything you did, it's gone. The feeling of loss, the loss of a dream. We were determined to build a place where our people could have a better life, and now all of that was gone. So I started working with the Federation of Southern Cooperatives, developing programs, assisting farmers. But one of the things that was happening, no matter how much we did, we were still losing black farmers and losing land.
When you look at the number of black farmers that's gone from 1 million black farmers in 1920 to less than 10,000 present day, and when you look at the number of black-owned land that's gone from 20 million acres down to 2, and these men and women are still on the federal debt register, why couldn't you offer them relief for something that they were screwed in?
My loan has been sitting and growing interest at a rate of $352 a day for 10 years. For 10 years, I've been waiting to get my life back.
That is a problem that America's faced with right now. The value of land, the greed, the wealth, the money, it's a fight. Land represents generational wealth.
And we just lost Mr. Sherrod just last week.
Yes, her husband passed
Yeah.
away last week.
You know, when you see that, what do you want people to come away from at the end of the day when they finish watching this and the credits are rolling? What do you want them to feel?
Well, there are a couple of things that I personally want. I want people to understand this issue, and it's very prevalent in our particular country, where, and I think just to really emphasize how this really works, heirs property works, if you have 100 descendants who have ownership of a part of land, all it takes is one person to sell their portion and will force the sale of the rest. No matter if it's 1 acre or if it's 8,000 acres, a person can sell a 50-foot square of that land, and the rest of the land can be forced to be sold. That's how, this is why it's such a very important conversation to have. But I want people to see the humanity of the people who are dealing with this. Acres and numbers and the amount of money that has been lost is $326 billion. But those are numbers, but these are people. And every time I look at it, I get emotional listening to Ms. Sherrod talk about, they put 15 years into this, and like, where do you go? It's very hard to imagine being tossed off of a piece of land and then trying to figure it out. Yeah. And Charles Sherrod, he mentioned in the clip that he would go back in the woods and cry. And I think about what that means for a man to go in the woods and cry to himself and then have to come back and try to get other people involved. And what we didn't show there is that Ms. Sherrod told us that it took him 9 years to get over that. Yeah. And so I want people to understand that this is not just about the numbers that are involved, but it's about people and their lives and generations who have lost out of the ability to pull themselves and their families out of impoverished situations.
Yeah, so it's not just, I mean, it's a really complex story arc to tell that John Deere wanted to get this through. I mean, because as you said, it's not just legal, it's not just economic, it's a people story. It's a family story.
Yes, and the beautiful thing about this project, and I feel super blessed, that when I spoke to the folks at John Deere, I did ask a very pointed question. I'm like, why would you do this? we already know that like it isn't exactly what people feel like is corporate interest. And the answer I got back is that we are part of this community. We are in this agricultural community, and we're being good corporate citizens. And I think that is the approach, and that is the thing that people gravitate to and resonate with, is that companies that are out here like in this world and in our sort of mix of life, that they actually care about the people, and that they will do things to help alleviate situations. And because they're in the agricultural space, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And so that conversation and it was really comforting to me to know that they really wanted to tell the story and didn't say, don't tell this and don't tell that.
Yep.
They literally just said, hey, go out there and tell this story and get it.
In fact, to that point, it started as a 60-minute film.
Yes.
And with their support, we are now at 90 minutes because it was so intense and there was so much there. And to that point, Mara, there was I think there was another movie. There was something that took place in a cornfield. They said, if you build it, they will come. Well, we've built it. How are you going to how do you see people seeing this documentary?
You bet. Well, before I answer that, though, I hope that after seeing the clip and hearing Eternal speak, you can understand why we believe John Deere is uniquely positioned to truly partner with others to tackle this important issue. And in terms of how will we get people to come, I hope, first of all of you will tune in when the documentary is released. It is an important topic. We have several unique plans in the works in terms of potential viewing at film festivals, some viewing parties, and like I said, some plans for social media. But we ask you to stay tuned, and if any of you have ideas, I invite you to reach out to me on LinkedIn and send them my way. In the meantime, we do have a page on johndeere.com. It's johndeere.com/leap, where you can learn more about this important issue, and you'll see plans about when we plan to release the documentary.
Joe, we have seen a sea change, especially from a corporate standpoint. The desire for any decent corporation that you want to be a good citizen. And was that accelerated during the pandemic and the summer of George Floyd?
Yeah, post George Floyd, we had to really get back to what is really important that we as an organization can tackle in a very, very systemic and an impactful way. And post George Floyd's murder, the coalition was formed exactly because of that. Because again, social justice without economic justice does not really belabor the point, particularly for a Black community that has been stigmatized for generations, particularly when the wealth gap continues to expand and to grow. So yes, it was really important for us to do something that was not only significant, but that was going to have deep meaning impact for generations to come. And that's where the coalition was formed.
So this is the beginning of a conversation. What happens next?
What happens next is we want to continue to expand our partnerships. In fact, and we are expanding our partnerships with beneficiaries who continue to do this work in different parts of the country, because heirs property extends across the board, particularly the southern states, but it does expand across the board. And there are various organizations that do heirs property eradication work every single day. So we're expanding our relationship with them. We're actually also welcoming other organizations, partner organizations that might want to work with us or want to partner along the expansion of and the eradication, if you will, of heirs property. So that is something that's really important and critical to us to continue to work with as many beneficiaries as possible and to bring in partners who are like-minded, who see this problem and want to tackle it from an ecosystem in a significant way.
And in a sense, this is part of John Deere's DNA. If you go all the way back to the beginning, John Deere himself, I don't think a lot of it was a
raging
abolitionist.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. 185 years ago, the founder of our organization was a raging abolitionist. So core to who we are as an organization is to really tackle these social justice issues. And I'm just really incredibly proud of our company to take a stand along with other organizations to really help our Black farmers regain title to, quite frankly, the property that they own, that they've owned all along, but in a clear, titled way.
Mara, do you, when you look at this, do these ways of reaching out to people, is it a little easier now because we have so many different platforms? It used to be there was one thing, you could go one way, and that was it. But now there are many ways to reach so many different people.
Definitely. So we're leveraging all of those opportunities to do more targeting forms of communication to reach these audiences. And most important, it starts with the people who are impacted. And so we're leveraging our partner organizations as well and using their platforms to get our message out to impacted parties. And none of this work would be possible if it weren't for our partner organizations who've been doing this work for years. John Deere is simply bringing folks together and amplifying their message and their great work and providing some funding to make all that possible.
Well, I got to tell you, we've done a lot of different projects, and this is one that I think as an organization and personally as the owner of the organization, I could not be prouder of, because it is such a core issue that if there is injustice for some, there's injustice for all. And there's the support that you folks, Johan and Mara, gave Eternal and our organization to produce something that, as Eternal has said, and I knew something about it just because of agriculture and weather, but I didn't know how deep it was and how pervasive it was. So thank you so much for this, and I hope you all get to see it, because it is an incredibly powerful film about a huge, huge problem. And please, I hope you'll connect with us at Al Roker Entertainment on LinkedIn, on the Twitter, on the gram, on the interweb, Facebook. I think we still have a MySpace place. Just look at Al Roker Entertainment. I was backstage listening to some music on Napster. It was fantastic. And check us out on alrokerentertainment.com. And how do folks connect with you guys?
I'm on LinkedIn as well, so please follow me on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook and Twitter as well.
I am on LinkedIn as well. Please follow us. Yes.
LinkedIn and Instagram, Eternal Polk.
And every time I hear Eternal talk, I just think I want to hear some Barry White music. God, I want that. I want his hair and his voice. Anyway, thank you so much.